Dobro jutro svima i pozdravljam vas i želim vam dobrodošlicu još jedanput na ovaj naš radni dio. I opet, kao što smo rekli, engleski je službeni jezik konferencije. Naravno, za sve smo osigurali simultani prijevod, pa oni koji žele mogu poslušati hrvatski direktni prijevod. Good morning and welcome again. We had a terrific night, I think, at Rector's Palace. We learned few bits about the history of this indeed terrific city, and very dear to all of us Croatians, and I hope you've enjoyed. Today, of course, we will start with the official program. Shortly, you will hear the keynote address by His Excellency Paul van Doren. Before that, I would just like to walk you briefly through the whole program. Of course, in welcoming you in this audience, I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome all of those that are watching us via video live streaming system, and thank you for joining as well. And I do hope that you will engage in a debate, at least by submitting questions via email. And I'm sure that our very distinguished panel of speakers will try to resolve all these questions for you. Why the conference? Many people have asked me that, and I said, why not? Why a private firm is driving such an event? I think it is good. It is good that we as colleagues get together and discuss. So one of the fundamental motives for organizing this event is a dialogue. Dialogue that we need and that hopefully will bring benefit to this very dear area that we are engaged in. Second, of course, is the exchange of ideas, know-how. And we think that this is a very, very important topic. We do live, somebody said, may we live in challenging times. We seem to be living in constantly in challenging times, at least in these areas. So this is something also worthwhile considering in the context of this conference. And in the context of the competition or antitrust area, we live, I think, in very interesting times as well. I would say from the paradox to religion. So we learned something about the antitrust paradoxes before, but now there are proponents who say, well, what these guys are doing basically is having fun over the conferences, debating some issues between themselves, which only they understand or pretend to understand. We tend to think a bit differently. We think that the competition law is a very important area. I personally think so, but maybe we'll come to some different conclusions. I think that competition law benefits strongly the economy of every country. And I also think that ultimately it benefits, of course, the consumers who seem to be more at the heart of the competition law area. And I think that there is between the competition law community a general consent, at least on these few areas. When devising this program, we have tried to focus on few areas that we believe deserve attention worldwide. And that is why the title of the conference tries to reflect the fact of transition, meaning that it's ever-changing area of law and practice. But also we have tried to focus on few what we believe are core sub-areas within the framework of the antitrust or competition law. So we have on our agenda cartels, which seems to be at the heart of proclaimed goals of each and every, I would dare to say, competition agency worldwide, the fight against the cartels. We do have a session on abuse of dominance with focus on pricing. Again, I think that it is a relatively common understanding that the power has to be watched carefully. We do have a session as well on private enforcement as another area that is becoming has become more and more in the focus and attention of antitrust practitioners. Some might say, well, of course, you guys are looking to see some more work for you. But I think that the role of private practitioners is, of course, threefold, basically. So we are here to comply, to defend, and to attack. Basically, I think there are the roles of antitrust practitioners in serving their clients' interest. So we have that session as well. We have a very interesting session on due process and what does it mean in divided world. I think that also there is a fairly common agreement that while substantive provisions of competition laws worldwide tend to be similar at least, of course, similar, correction from Mark, of course with two main sources being US and European Union, I think today worldwide as sources of inspiration. There is a huge divergence in the area of procedure and due process. And this is a highly debatable topic, I think, on worldwide. And it is amazing to me to see how much not only divergence we have, but how frequently we forget some fundamental principles. So while we are focusing on details, we tend to forget some fundamental principles of fairness and due process. Basically, that's the first day. The second day, we will have 3 panels. The first one being after, of course, we hear our dear colleague William Kovacic, Commissioner of FTC, who will be a keynote speaker tomorrow morning. We will have sessions on merger control and how to defend a problematic merger, I think with a focus on horizontal mergers. Again, area of quite interesting maybe differences worldwide and challenges. We will have a session on compliance, when prevention is better than cure. And last but not the least, we will try to put to you some thoughts about how does it all work in transition economies. So the status and prospects of competition law in transition economies. Whatever that means, we had a debate on whether to use emerging markets, whether to use transition economies. And what does it, who qualifies for transition, you know? But nevertheless, the title is as it is. We will try to do this in a format that more in a discussion-like manner. Of course, we will have presentations, but we would encourage you from the audience to raise questions at all times. And we encourage, again, as I said, those that are watching us also to pose and raise questions, to steer the debate with the view that we find maybe some answers to some of these very, very complex questions. And now, we learned yesterday that too much power is not good in the context of political arena from the history of Dubrovnik, mandatory rotation. So the structure of the conference is such that we have session chairs, excellent session chairs, one sitting left of me, Mark Rayson, with the view that I relinquish myself as a conference chair from too much powers. And now I would like to introduce to you His Excellency Paul van Doren. His Excellency Paul van Doren is the head of delegation of the European Union to the Republic of Croatia. Before that, he was acting as a head of the delegation of the European Commission to Russia. And before that, had a position of deputy head of delegation in the same office since end September 2005. In the summer of 2005, he was visiting research fellow at Lee Kuan Yew's School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore, where he studied ASEAN regional integration process and in particular free trade agreements signed by ASEAN with trading partners. Interestingly, he's a former director at the Director General for Trade at the European Commission in Brussels, involved also at that function for textile, intellectual property, government procurement, large civil aircraft, trade analysis, and EU-Japan trade relations. He dealt with these issues also as a head of unit in the same Directorate General. And previously he was a head of unit in the Directorate General for the Internal Market in charge of copyright and neighboring rights. And before that, a deputy head of unit for relations with the USA. Before joining the European Commission, His Excellency Van Doren worked in international banking with the Belgian financial institution, and previously he was a professor of law at the law school of the University of Algiers. So another lawyer with us, and a professor. He holds a degree of Doctor in Law from Catholic University Leuven in Belgium and graduated in European Law at the College of Europe in Bruges, Belgium. He also holds a master's degree in Comparative Law from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, USA. He is a frequent speaker, but also he published a number of articles in the following areas: competition law, anti-dumping, interface between competition and anti-dumping, EU-US economic relations, government procurement, intellectual property, and so on. He was recently appointed as a visiting professor at the Catholic University in Leuven on negotiating intellectual property rights agreement. Born 1948 in Antwerp, Belgium, and Belgian of nationality. Mr. Van Doren, the floor is yours. Thank you.